I retired after 30 years out of Chesterfield County, which is just south of Richmond, Virginia. And after retirement, I moved to the state of Maine and took a job as a fire and EMS chief up there. Went back into retirement, was sitting there looking across the lake when I got the phone call from Atlantic asking if I would come down and help them with the Genesis brand. It's a brand that I was very familiar with. In Chesterfield, we were, like yourselves, using Hearst. Used them for my whole career. But as an instructor, I taught tech rescue all over the state of Virginia. Had opportunity to work with almost all the major brand hydraulic rescue tools, and Genesis was probably my favorite that I had an opportunity to work with. So it was a product line that I believed in. As I said, I've been with Atlantic about 2.5 years, and my focus is I am the Genesis guy for Atlantic. I do sales, demos, I do service and repairs, and I cover 4 states. The only state that I don't cover full time is here in North Carolina, in the Atlantic network. So we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to take a look at the battery tools. A lot of people haven't had an opportunity to work with it. I will tell you that of the quotes and demos that I'm currently doing, 3 to 1 they're battery tools over the full hydraulic set. Okay. What I've got for you today, this is our midline combi tool. It's called a 14C, and we make one, actually 2 that are larger and 1 that is smaller than this particular tool. The one thing about this tool, it has fixed tips on it, where the 2 larger ones have removable tips. Okay. We do have some other features that go with this, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. This is our largest cutter. It's a C236, and the one thing I'll tell you about our cutter and spreader, they're comparable to the full hydraulics that I carry on the trailer. So if people say that you give up power when you go battery, that's not true. The numbers are identical between the cutters and the spreaders. Okay. This is our largest spreader. It's a full 32-inch spreader. And the one thing I will tell you about our battery tools, they tend to be slightly heavier than the tools in our hydraulic line. But remember, you're carrying the hydraulic oil reservoir and the pump, as well as the battery, on this tool. Basically, from here forward, it's the same tool that's on our hydraulic line. Okay? But the extra weight is what we're carrying back here on the back end. You'll also notice that the tool is a little bit longer. So I know all of you have heard at some point, don't stand between the tool and the car. You got to really pay attention, because this tool is much longer and will actually be behind you. So you definitely don't want to be between the tool and the car when you're working it. We also have with us today a telescopic ram. This goes from 22 inches up to 54 inches. We make one that's smaller than it, and it is 21 to 36 inches. The other thing that I'll tell you with our 14 combi tool is we also offer what we call a mechanical ram, and basically it pins into the 2 holes up on the front end of the combi tool, and it allows you to extend 30 inches on this ram. Okay? And you're doing it by spreading your tips, and it'll go a full 30 inches. Okay? So again, a nice feature is with one tool you can cut, spread, and also ram. So again, a nice part of that is if you want to put a tool on an engine, this is a good consideration, because you have the ability to do all 3 and take up very minimal compartment space. We're powered by a 28-volt lithium-ion Milwaukee battery. That battery is a 3 amp-hour battery. Today, we've changed, and we're now offering with all of our tools 5 amp-hour batteries, which give you an extended runtime. The batteries also have an indicator on them. You push a button, and you'll get 4 lights, or 3 or 2, depending on how much charge is left on that battery. You can check it by checking it before you put it on. You can check it at any point in time. Even while operating it, you can still check your battery to see how much life is left. For any of you that have worked with battery tools, such as a reciprocating saw or a drill or a power drill, hammer drill, that have used the NiCad batteries, you'll know that as you use them, they begin to slow down the rotation of the tool as the battery starts to die off. These do not do that. You'll be just as strong in your cut or just as strong in your spread, and all of a sudden it'll stop. That's an indication you need to change your battery. Each of these tools have some unique features, but all in general operate the same way. This is our second edition or second generation battery tool. In the first generation, you powered it up, and as soon as you moved the trigger, the motor started running and the fluid started flowing. With this one, when you power it up, the motor will run, but until you operate the trigger, you're not going to get any movement on the tool itself. Now, the reason for making that change is they found that having those two functions start at the exact same time put a real power spike against the battery and work to kill the battery. By getting the motor running, now when you operate that trigger, you're only minimizing the impact against the draw on the battery. This is set up internally so that after about 18 or 20 seconds of no use, it'll actually shut itself off to conserve your battery time. Okay? I use the example, you're doing a cut, you're doing a spread, you lay the tool down behind you to move some debris, and then all of a sudden you interact with the patient. You don't have to worry about this tool sitting there and just continuing to run. It'll eventually just shut itself off, and it'll be ready for you the next time you're ready to go back to work. You simply push that button to restart the motor and you're good to go. Okay. The reason for the delay is in case you set it down, move your material, and go right back to work, you don't have to restart it. It's already running for you. They operate at 10,000 psi, where full hydraulics operate at 10.5. It's a sealed system. Basically, the annual maintenance on it is an inspection and a lubrication of the external parts. The fluids don't have to be changed. They're a sealed system as well, and there's no service requirement for the pump itself. You'll also notice when you start the power, there's two LED lights built in the front edge of the handle. Those are work lights. They focus right on the end of the tool so that you have some lighting if you're not wearing a headlamp or don't have other background lighting available. The cutter that I've got is what we call our 236 with next gen blade. You'll notice that it has replaceable cutting edges. This particular blade is rated for ultra high strength steel and boron capable. Okay? Remember, when cutting those metals, it's not really a cut. You're compressing it to the point that it shatters and comes apart. Okay? There are two roll pins that hold these cutting edges in place, and the cutting edges are replaceable in the field. We have a kit that has the two cutting edges, some additional roll pins, and a punch for the roll pins so that you back those out, remove the cutting edges, put the new ones in, and put your roll pins right back in place. Our spreader, this is our largest spreader. As I said, it's a full 32-inch spreader. It is the one tool that has fixed handles, but it has a handle that's top mounted and one that's side mounted to allow you to orient the tool horizontal or vertical. Okay? One of the things that we've done with our tips is we've put 3 barbs on each side of the tip. A lot of times you get that purchase point, you get your tips in there, and the first thing it does, it wants to back out on you. Those barbs are designed to bite into the metal or to cleat into the metal and hold it and prevent it from backing out on you. The spreader again has fixed handles. All of our tools are designed so that when you pick it up by the top handle, the tool should be balanced. They're not tip heavy, they're not heel heavy, they're balanced in your hand. The last thing you want to do, one of the things that creates fatigue for us, is trying to hold that tool level if it's tip heavy or heel heavy. You're constantly fighting against it. And people say, well, how important is that? Well, in a long duration event, it's real important. Okay? Number one, you're already holding a tool that's slightly heavier than conventional hydraulics, and the last thing you need to do is have yourself fighting with the tool to stay balanced. I will tell you that getting used to swivel handles for some people is a little bit of a challenge. The design behind that allows you to, if you loosen the swivel, it allows you to hold that with one hand and rotate the tool to change the attitude of the blade or the spreader. Okay, that's the logic behind that. The other thing is we have one handle that can be moved in the event that you're in a place working and the handle is in your way. Some tools actually have a handle that's fixed all the way around three sides, and eventually you'll run into a place where that handle is right in the way. Okay? It could be typically between the A-post, the bottom of the steering wheel, and the front of the seat. You're trying to get that tool in somewhere to open up or do a cut, and you just can't get in there because the handle prevents you from doing so. The nice part about this, just by a matter of backing off on that hand wheel, you can actually take that handle completely off and get it totally out of your way if you need to. Okay. The last thing I have is a telescopic ram. Again, this goes from 22 to 54 inches, and it has a tremendous amount of push distance, and you should be able to go from the bottom of the B post all the way to the dash or to the top of the A post to make your dash push or roll. Okay. Any questions about the battery tools themselves? Okay. Have any of you had a chance to work with them? Well, we have an automobile for you. The idea is you should be able to use most of the techniques you use with conventional hydraulics, and you should be able to do all those techniques using battery tools. You remember the tool is slightly longer than what you may be used to, and just keep that in perspective as you remember with anybody's combi tool. The combi tool will do all the functions, but it's not going to do any of them as well as a standalone cutter, a standalone spreader, or a full-size ram. Okay? But it will allow you to do all those different functions. Again, we've got the cutting, the spreading, and the mechanical ram that attaches to it. All right. Guys, if there are no questions, you have an opportunity to take these tools and work on an automobile. The last thing I do want to show you, this has nothing to do with the Genesis line, but the last group found it kind of interesting, and that's for glass removal. This is a Rhino cutter. It is a windshield cutter. It cuts laminated glass. Remember, at the end of this year, for the 2018 automotive season, all the major manufacturers will be going to laminated glass all the way around the vehicle. Now, again, your spring-loaded center punches are still going to work on most vehicles that are on the road today, but you're going to have to start thinking about removing laminated glass. For your windshields, a lot of people use reciprocating saws or Glassmaster style cutting saws. The limitation is you can't get but so close to the dash because the blade goes so far in. With this one, you make a purchase point using the little pry tool. The other end can be used for pulling trim from around the windshield. And then once you do that, you lay this blade under the glass, these two on top of the glass, and with a reciprocating action, you just run it around the windshield. You'll find that this has a sweet spot to it. It'll seem to be slow in certain positions. If you just change the attitude of where that blade lays in relationship to the glass, you'll find that it'll cut almost as fast as you can push it. Okay? Best way to do it is person on each side of the automobile. I send it across to you. You go up your side, bring it back across, and then I finish out the cut on my side. Okay? Very quick and easy to use. It pulverizes the glass. It doesn't leave large shards of glass like some of the other tools do. So a sheet is fine for covering your patients and their wounds. It ends up with a powdered debris, and you'll see the laminate actually roll out of the center of this area as you're making your cut. Okay? And again, you're welcome to use this or any other method that you choose to take your windshield or to your automobile.